Hey Dom, how has the evolution of your Catholic faith changed how you approach work, preparedness, and family life? And also, what are bishops, priests, and deacons missing in our preaching when it comes to men and families in general? Thanks and God bless.
So this next question is near and dear to my heart. So first of all, thank you, Deacon, for sending this in, because it's something that I think a lot of men that I know, it weighs heavy on our heart. And I'll answer the first question, but then I'll answer the second part as well, because I think they're two separate things and really putting an emphasis on men and families in the church. You know, when it comes to today's communication, it's really important. My faith has absolutely changed the way that I look at preparedness. You know, there's a lot of things in our life that we want to control. We want to have immediate control over. And with faith being integrated into my life and trusting God with a lot of what happens that I cannot control, it's given me a huge sense of peace. That when something doesn't make sense in the moment, or I can't necessarily wrap my head around exactly what to do or how to figure it out, I offer that up. And I essentially start with prayer to say, okay, Lord, where are you asking me to be? Where are you asking me to take action here? And that has changed a lot of what I've done. Also realizing that I don't have to solve all of the problems, but I do need to be prepared with what God gave me. God gave me specific talents to apply that I've realized that I'm very, very good at and also need to be applied in a faithful manner. It's made me look at scenarios a lot differently as well. How would I respond to somebody that is unsure of what they're doing? You know, and picking up on that, I think having a level of faith makes me recognize that, where it's not just one answer for everything, where if somebody bothers me, I'm just going to kill them and take their head off. I think that there's a heart and a level of love, an unconditional love, that needs to be applied to every scenario. One thing that I've said to really wrap that up is that I'm going to try to love everybody until they give me a reason not to. If evil presents itself in a physical manner and the lives of the ones that I love are at stake, well, that means that I need to do something about that. You effectively took away my ability to love you in that moment. Now I have to be the obstacle that stands in the breach between you and what I love and whatever evil is presenting itself. So I think that's a huge way that that's presented it to me. The question about what can priests, deacons, and bishops and anybody preaching do to really strengthen the men and the families in this culture and in our church is such an important question. And the first thing that I'm going to say is to be bold and to be courageous. I've seen a lot of guys out there speaking to men and speaking to families, and they're almost unsure of themselves. Like, is this really the truth? Is this really what I believe? And I think that people need to stand up and know for sure that that is true. What you are saying, the church exudes this, the church teaches this, is if we know it's true, why are we wavering on that? Why are we unsure of ourselves? Walk into the room and explain to men and families that they are what's standing in the middle of good and evil in our culture today. The family is under attack, especially the men of the household. We need to be pillars, and they need to be reassured that by the shepherds in the church and in the community that they are being charged to go out and change the world. In the domestic church, in their own families, men need to stand in that gap every single day, and they need to be reminded of that boldly. And we talk about often culturally, there's a lot of pandering going on, trying to appease the culture, make everybody happy, make churches more approachable. It's like, no, everybody out here that I know that are men that truly want to make a difference in their family, we don't want to be sold the music. We don't want to be sold the fancy things, the laser light shows. We want to be told the bold truth so we can go home and live that out. Men need to hear that from you. Men need to be reassured of that on a daily basis, especially when they're attending mass and they're attending church. So the family unit is what is going to hold this culture together. And it all starts with what the parents are doing. And if we need to get back to the basics, honestly, for me, that's where it starts is how are we reminding people how important the sacraments are in our life, how important these basic necessities are in our life, is that we can't hear that from the pulpit enough. So I encourage guys that are in leadership positions to be bold and be courageous and to be able to realize that they're waiting on you to tell them to go out and do what needs to be done, especially in that family church at home. So it's a great question. I mean, there's so much more I want to dive into on this subject, but ultimately it is probably the most important subject to be able to save our culture, our families, and our communities from collapsing. It starts with how the fathers and the parents are raising our children. And if we don't get that from church, where else do we expect to get that from? It certainly isn't the media. It certainly isn't the school systems. We have got to hear that from people that know the truth and live that out every single day. So stay strong. And I appreciate the question so much. I hope guys ask more stuff like that in the future.